Thank you, Lauren, and Mrs. Kuss, thank you for your service. We'd like to thank all of you for being here. It's truly an honor to be able to introduce our dad to you today. Some of our fondest memories from growing up involve playing sports with our dad. He was a great athlete during his time at Academy. He received 11 varsity letters in swimming, track, and soccer. He was named the captain of the swimming and the track teams, and he also won the Yale Cup, now called the Stahl Cup, and awarded each year to the senior who has made the greatest contribution to athletics. And so it was with great pride and excitement that he watched as my brother and I showed an early interest in athletics, and then crushing disappointment as he learned that our favorite sport was going to be basketball, a game at which he did not excel. And so just to make things a little easier on him, we decided that our favorite way to play basketball was going to be to play against him 2-on-1, and then to make him play on his knees on our concrete basement floor. Nothing says love and support like enduring severe pain, massive loss of cartilage, just so your sons can dunk on you over and over again. But that's just the kind of dad he is, fun, supportive, and never complains about anything. And he continued to show that support as we grew older and participated in more official activities at Academy, leaving work early or rearranging his schedule so that he could attend our many football and basketball games, track meets, and tennis matches.
Following in our dad's footsteps at the Academy meant that he had a lot of valuable insight he could share with us. Most importantly, however, was that he knew, and I believe his own time at the Academy instilled this in him, to allow Dan and I to learn through our own experiences, to avoid micromanaging or helicopter parenting, to be supportive and engaged without trying to write our papers for us, though he may have put in a few semicolons in the right place. All of this is to say, of course, is that our dad definitely did not send us an email on November 13th, subject line, Alumni Luncheon Introduction. And this email certainly did not include lines like, quote, "I think you do my basic bio and cover the boring stuff," and, quote, "my off-the-cuff humor thoughts were, ... Okay, so maybe that email does exist, but even if it does, at least it ends with, quote, "These are just ideas, and you can write what you want." That's what's most important. And anyway, even if a part of him did want to help ghostwrite our introduction today, that's okay, because he's a pretty good speechwriter. I say that not only as his son, but as someone who saw his 2015 commencement speech at Academy graduation. What struck me most in watching that speech came at its conclusion. He told the class of 2015, quote, "You are in a special spot. Give of that. Share it. Give it back. Use it to help others. As you go out and conquer the world and establish careers, remember humility and empathy," end quote. These words mean a lot to me because I know they weren't just written for that occasion. They're the same things our dad learned at the Academy, and the same things he imparted to us in his words and in his actions every day when we were growing up. And so I'm honored to be here today to thank him for passing down these essential lessons to us. Dan.
And these are lessons that he did not reserve just for his sons or for that audience in the quad. This is really how he lives his life, setting a positive example for his classmates, colleagues, and employees. These values helped guide him as he made a shift in his career to join the family business, agreeing to work for his dad, a man who played a significant role in instilling these values in him. And about 6 years ago, I decided to leave my job at Nationwide and to join him in the family business. And true to what David described, he did not pressure me at all. This was my decision, but it really was not a difficult one because I knew it would give me the opportunity to work closely with him and to continue to learn from him. And so it is our honor and privilege today to introduce our father and the 2017 recipient of the Columbus Academy Distinguished Alumnus Award, Mike Crane.
They did a pretty good job. I thought it was a little risky asking your two sons to get up and talk in public about you. So I gave them clear written instructions, which they did not follow, but that's okay, they did well, thank you. And the basement basketball games, actually that was the peak of my basketball career, playing on a 4-foot basketball against opponents who were 3 feet tall. And it was a high point for me. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Lauren. Thank you to the alumni board. Actually, a little point of confusion on my part. I thought I was receiving the Young Alumnus Award, but oh, did you? No, it's great to be here. Thank you to the alumni board, to the school, and to all of our alumni. I am very honored and very humbled to join the ranks of our previous winners, who I know and respect. This means a lot to me, as I have a great love for the school. Not only a special place for me, but for my sons and for my wife, Paige, who's been heavily involved in the school over the years. I'm also very grateful to the school for the education I received and the education my sons received. I also would like to thank my classmates of the class of 1971, who allowed me to join in recess games when I was a new kid in 3rd grade. We pretended the jungle gym was a submarine, which is kind of cool. And later, as a group, we set new standards for junior class speeches. It was a different time, the speeches were different, we'll just leave it at that. Kevin, you had your hands full. I would also like to acknowledge my wife, Paige, for supporting me through my career, for being a wonderful mother to our sons, and for joining me in supporting Columbus Academy. And I want to say thank you to all my family who are here today. I'm also very excited because this is the first time in my life I've been called distinguished. So it's a high point for me. And I think it'll help me in the future if somebody thinks I'm acting in a less than distinguished manner, I can bring out the award and say, look, I've been declared to be distinguished, therefore, ipso facto, I am. I might be wearing a lampshade on my head when I say that, but I think it still works. I do feel somewhat guilty. Brian Shepard and I had lunch together, and he informed me of the award. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the alumni board knows that I was arrested by the Bexley police when I was 12 years old. And I was actually with 4 of my academy classmates that night. We were engaged in that very odd, juvenile, destructive behavior of breaking streetlights. And some of the questions were like, well, how did you guys get spotted? Well, we were standing underneath the streetlight. Well, how were you guys identified? Well, all 5 of us were wearing the same jacket, on the back of which were the words Columbus Academy in reflective lettering. Anyway, the moral to that story, the happy ending is that none of us turned to a life of crime, and I think that should be noted. And now Academy actually has courses on character and ethics, maybe inspired by the Bexley Five, I don't know. And Tim Leet has even written a book about the subject. I just want to say to Tim, where were you when we needed you? As I reflected on my time of being involved at the school, there obviously have been a great number of other very positive changes. One of the biggest changes, of course, was to the physical facilities, to the campus. I grew up in the Nelson Road campus. It was certainly a different environment. I'm sure you've all heard stories about how Allen Creek would overflow its banks and flood the gym. And it was kind of like, so Mr. Price, you want us to drive to the basket, but how do we do that when there's 6 inches of water on the gym floor? How do we dribble the basketball? But we would, and he'd call us for traveling. It was so unfair. And then, of course, there's track. We never had a track. We didn't have a track at Nelson Road when we first got to Cherry Bottom. Coach would just go out there with a lot of white chalk and a really big tape measure and draw an oval around the football field around 440 yards long, give or take 20 or 30 yards. And I've never actually done this, but it would be kind of like running around 270. It would have that same sort of concrete asphalt feel to it. And it even had that airport Gehenna in and out area because Coach wasn't very good at drawing ovals. And of course, with respect to changes, the biggest change was going co-ed in 1990. Both Dan and David had 12-year co-educational experiences. It was a bit of an adjustment for me, an old school guy who went to an all-boys school. And I had classmates with names like Tom and Bill and Jim. And they had classmates with names like Emily, Natalie, and Sarah. And I remember Dan, when he was in 7th grade, he was on a long phone conversation with Erin Dodd, daughter of former faculty member John Dodd. And I was thinking, did he ask her out to the movies? Did they talk about getting together over the weekend? But no, they talked about homework. And he had a normal friend-to-friend, classmate-to-classmate conversation. I just felt kind of silly because I kind of put it into a boy-girl context, not realizing that both Dan and David would have opportunities to have more meaningful friendships and relationships with girls than I did. A wonderful thing, I think. With respect to changes at the school, Paige and I had an opportunity to give back by getting directly involved in the New Quest Capital campaign, which was great, getting involved to help increase our endowment and to help improve the physical facilities to give students a better environment in which to learn and to give the faculty a better environment in which to teach and to educate. And with respect to the faculty, as I said before, my teachers and coaches at Academy had a more profound impact on me than my professors at college or law school. Rainey Taylor, Kevin Moran, Basil Duncan, they were the ones that really had an impact on me and molded my life. And I think probably a lot of you had similar feelings about your experiences with the faculty here at Academy. And a perfect example, of course, is Annette Kuss, who devoted her life to molding lives and helping young children. Nice job. Thank you, Annette, for helping young David in 4th grade. Speaking of the New Quest Capital campaign, I have to admit I really fought the idea of co-chairing the campaign. Although, yes, I knew working with George Skestos would be entertaining and worth the price of admission, I thought, wow, do I really want to ask people for money over a 2 or 3 year period? A difficult thing on both sides of the table, of course. And do I really want to sit through 3 or 4 years of capital campaign committee meetings? So I was waffling badly. But I was affected by a sudden event, the passing of Mark Barron. Mark was such an incredible Academy person as a student, alumnus, and then as a faculty member. And the support for the family at that time, I thought, was so thoughtful and so incredibly overwhelming. And I remember Paige and I went to the calling hours for Mark, and the first people we saw were David Currier and Nick Rice, who had graduated from Academy in 2002 and 2001. And the thought hit me, both of those young men lost their fathers at a young age. Phil Currier, head of the upper school, and Jim Rice, an alumnus, class of 1967. And David and Nick were there, of course, for Mark, their teacher, mentor, coach. But I think they were also there for Jen, because she's a faculty member, and they knew what their mothers went through. And I think that Nick and David also were there for the Barron boys, because they knew, because they were students and they knew exactly what those boys were going through. That, I thought, really epitomized the Academy community. It was that outpouring of support by teachers, alumni, parents, faculty, all parts of the Academy community coming together that helped me refocus my thinking and commit to the campaign. And I do think it's so impressive, the depth and breadth of the sense of community that all of us share. It's what brings us back to alumni reunions. It's what causes us to come out and pay tribute to people like Rainey Taylor. And it's what causes us to spend the Friday before Christmas, at a very busy time of year, getting together to share lunch and fellowship and good cheer. And I'm so happy and proud to be a part of that community, and now today with this award, to be a part of its traditions. I am very honored. Thank you.